Okay, this is a video to show you how to factor the trinomials that have a coefficient other than a 1. So the way that I show how to do this is pretty much turn it into a factor by grouping problem. So we make it 4 terms and then we do factor by grouping. So instead of again running through these steps, I'm going to go ahead and just show you. So first thing you do with these problems is, of course, you notice that that has a 2 in front. You should always look for a GCF. So these 3 terms don't have anything in common, so then we just multiply the first number times the last, and then we know that that would equal 4. So we're going to look for 2 numbers that multiply to be 4, and they have to add up to be that middle number. So let's think of the numbers. So that would be 4 and 1. So what we do is we rewrite the middle term using those 2 terms. So we're going to have 2x squared, oops, it's a little squeaky, so plus, so 4x plus, and then this will be 1x plus 2. So what we've done is we've rewritten the middle term as 2 terms, and now it has 4 terms total, and we can do factor by grouping. So then we pair them up, and we see what the first 2 have in common. So they have a 2 in common and an x, and we see what's left, and that would leave us with an x plus 2. And then the last 2 don't really have anything great in common, so we just take out a 1, and then see what's left. And that leaves us with x plus 2. And we notice they both have an x plus 2, so we take that out, and then we see what's left. So we notice there's a 2x left over, and then plus the 1. So that's your final answer. And you can multiply it back out and check it. Okay, this one, we're going to multiply the first number times the last number. So that would be 42. So we're going to look for 2 numbers that multiply to be 42, and they add up to be negative 23. So after a little bit of thought, you would come up with, eventually, negative 21 and negative 2. So then we're going to rewrite the middle term using those 2 numbers. So 6x squared minus 21x minus 2x, and then plus 7. So we've created a polynomial with 4 terms, so now we can do grouping. So the first 2 have something in common, so they have a 3 and an x in common, and that leaves us with 2x minus 7. And then the last 2 don't really have anything great in common, but I'm going to take out a negative 1. Because I want to make sure that in the parentheses it's going to turn out to be 2x minus 7. So now they both have a 2x minus 7, so we take that out, and then we see what's left, and that would leave us with 3x minus 1, and then that would be your final answer. Okay, the third one, we want to multiply these 2 together, the first and the last, and that would give us negative 15, and then we want to make sure that the 2 numbers will add up to be negative 14. So we think about what the numbers could be, and let's see, that would be negative 15 and a positive 1. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite the middle term using those 2 terms. So it's going to be minus 15x plus 1x, and then minus 3. So the first 2 terms, they have a 5 in common and an x, and it's going to be x minus 3. And then the last 2 terms have a 1 in common, and that's going to leave us with x minus 3. Now we notice that x minus 3 is in common for both, so we take that out, and then we see what's left. So it'd be 5x plus 1, and then that's times x minus 3. Okay, this one, same thing. We're going to just see what we're going to see if they have a GCF first, and we notice that they don't, so then we proceed with multiplying the first number times the last. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be -6, and they're supposed to add up to be 1. So after a little bit of thought, we would come up with a 3 and a -2. And then we would rewrite the middle term using those two numbers. So that would be 2x squared plus 3x minus 2x and then minus 3. So then the first two terms, we would see what they have in common. So it looks like they just have an x in common. So then that would leave us with 2x plus 3. And then the last two terms don't have anything great in common besides a -1, and that would leave us with 2x plus 3. We notice they both have a 2x plus 3, so we take it out, and then we see what's left. So it'd be x minus 1. And then finally, the last one, whenever you're doing factoring, you should always try to see if they have a GCF. So this one does. It looks like they have a 2 in common. So we take the 2 out, and that leaves us with 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. And then we would proceed with our factor by grouping method here. So we multiply the first number times the last number, which is 6. And we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be 6 and add up to be 7. So those numbers would be 6 and 1. So then we'd want to rewrite the middle term. We're going to carry that 2 along for the ride, and then we're going to rewrite this 2x squared plus, and we're going to rewrite the 7x so that it's 6x plus x. I hope that squeaky little stylus isn't coming through the video. It might be. Ooh, sounds like it. Okay, so then we want to see what the first two have in common, and that would be a 2 and an x, and that leaves us with x plus 3. And then the last two have a 1 in common, and that leaves us with x plus 3. We notice that they both have an x plus 3, so we take that out, and then we see what's left, 2x plus 1. And then we bring down the 2, we don't want to forget about the 2, and then that would be your final answer. So hopefully that's 8 minutes. That should give you an idea how to do the factoring trinomials, a little bit harder type. And let me do this box one actually. So a box has volume given by the trinomial. What are the possible dimensions of the box? So what we can do is factor it. So let's see what they have in common. So we can take out an x, and then that would leave us with 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. And then we can use our method for the remaining trinomial here. So let's multiply those first and last terms together, at least the coefficients. So that would be -10. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be -10 and add up to be -3. So that would be -5 and +2. So then we'd want to rewrite the middle term here. So carry the x along for the ride. We have 2x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 5. So we're going to do a grouping here. So we're going to pull out the x, and that would leave us with 2x minus 5. And then the last two terms don't have anything great, so we'll just take out a 1, and that'll leave us with 2x minus 5. So then they have a 2x minus 5 in common, and then that leaves us with x plus 1, and then we'll bring down the x as well. So these would be your three dimensions. What are the possible dimensions of the box? And this is depending on how you say it, it could be the width, the length, and the height of the box, because you know the box has 3 different dimensions. So we could say the length, the width, and height. We don't really know which is which, it just depends on what the value of x is. Alright, so hopefully that 10.5 minutes will help.